This is one of Robert Kirkman's most overlooked comics, and it's called Oblivion Song. In this world, a whole chunk of Philadelphia just disappears, like it gets ripped out of reality, and nobody really talks about what's on the other side, until now. And the crazy part is, one guy never stops going back. Every time he crosses over, it's like he's stepping into a place that shouldn't exist, full of monsters, broken landscapes, and people the world already gave up on. But he can't let it go, not even for his own life. So today we're going to break down what actually happened to that missing city, why this world is way more dangerous than it first looks, and how one man basically destroys his own life trying to bring people back from a place that might not even want them returned. 10 years ago, something terrible happened in Philadelphia, where an entire chunk of the city, along with roughly 300,000 citizens, was suddenly transported to another dimension, a hellscape known as Oblivion. Nathan Cole is a brilliant scientist who was able to find a way to go inside Oblivion and search for survivors. He finds a couple that are still alive and shoots them with special teleport darts that take them outside the city, but now there's a giant monster running after him. His teleport device is broken, so he can't use it to escape, and the monster is relentless. He is eventually cornered and is about to be eaten alive, but Nathan uses one of the darts on himself, stabbing himself in the neck and teleporting the heck out of there. The survivors are shocked and scared. They've spent 10 years inside Oblivion, and they consider it their home now, but Duncan and his wife, Bridget, are trying to calm them down. They've built a base at the edge of the city, and the two survivors are being taken care of. They're gonna be just fine. It's been so long since they've found any survivors, and news breaks out immediately as the couple is taken to the hospital and reunited with their loved ones. After a part of the city was teleported into Oblivion, what remained was invaded by alien monsters, but they've managed to contain them by building a giant wall around the city. There's also a memorial dedicated to everyone who disappeared that day, but Nathan crosses off the names of the two survivors he was able to rescue today. Nathan wants to continue the mission and go back and save as many people as possible, but the government is unwilling to spend any more money on this, claiming it can be dangerous. His actions could be weakening the dimensional barrier, and he could cause another transference. It could be a whole city this time. Nathan also has a personal agenda. His brother went missing that day, and he's been trying to find him ever since. Duncan was also trapped in Oblivion, but ever since he was saved, he's been on edge and is kinda jumpy. Nathan gets into an argument with his girlfriend, Heather, who works for the government. She's against him risking his life trying to save his brother and calls him out, saying he's no hero. He wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for his brother. The next day, Duncan says that sometimes the place was kinda nice when the monsters weren't chasing him. The breeze, the creatures in the distance, the insects, it all sounded like nothing he'd ever heard before. Nathan knows exactly what he's talking about and calls it the Oblivion Song. It's haunting but beautiful in a way. He goes on another mission inside Oblivion and finds a rotten corpse. He buries it with dirt while remembering his brother and saying he's sorry for screwing things up. Two people are watching him from the top of a building, but they don't understand why he's hunting people and shooting them with darts. Maybe he's killing them. There's a third guy named Edward who says they need to set a trap if they want to find out. Nathan takes the couple he was able to save to a museum dedicated to the people who survived that day, and also to everyone who lost their lives. When it happened, monsters started showing up and there was chaos everywhere. Over 20,000 people lost their lives before the army was able to evacuate. They've managed to kill a giant monster, which is now displayed inside the museum like a dinosaur. Nathan explains that he was able to figure out a way to go into the other dimension by analyzing the altered vibrational pattern of the matter in the area affected. It was just a matter of time before he built a device that would alter matter's cellular vibration, allowing him to go there. Patricia sees the memorial and gets emotional, saying there are others like them, many more, but her husband wants her to keep quiet. Apparently there are over 100 people living out there. They're organized, and they've been living there, working together for years outside the city. But Heather isn't so sure they can trust Patricia and her husband. They've been through a lot, and besides, the government's never going to approve funding the project based on their testimony. He knows they are being led by a guy named Edward, and Nathan thinks it might be his brother. He wants to build a small team and asks his friend Marco for help. But Marco has a family and kids now, and he doesn't want to risk his life going back there. There's too much at stake for him. Nathan decides to go on another run all alone, but this time he plans to spend an entire day here. Out of nowhere, he gets attacked by a giant monster and he falls off the side of a building. This place is dense with vegetation which softens his fall, and he survives, but he's not alone. A man ambushes him and points his gun at him, asking him to stay still and not move, or else. They are not safe, because the monster is still here and it comes after both of them. The guy wants to shoot it, but Nathan doesn't want him to kill it, saying it's just a wild animal and there's no reason to kill it. Nonetheless, the guy values his life more and shoots the animal, killing it on the spot. He claims it would have chased after them and never stopped until they were both eaten alive. Nathan says he's looking for a group of people and he can take them back. He can take all of them back. He then takes out his gun and wants to shoot him with a teleport dart, but the man dodges. He doesn't understand why Nathan just tried to shoot him and wants to blow his brains out, but Nathan teleports out of Oblivion just in time. The dart was shot straight into the dead monster, and the man takes it out, wondering what it does. The fall from the building took its toll and Nathan was injured. He's got a sprained arm and lots of bruises, but he's gonna be just fine. Heather is worried and doesn't understand why he just doesn't give up. They have something special going on. Doesn't he want more for them? Why does he keep risking his life by going there? But he can't stop. He's determined to keep going and possibly find his brother. Duncan isn't so sure those people even want to be rescued. They're just gonna come back and go back to their lives as if nothing happened. But he did it. Also, the couple Nathan saved earlier are doing fine, but Duncan isn't so sure. Nathan meets with Olive, a woman he was able to save who's trying to live a normal life now, but it's not easy. A few moments after they were transported there, the survivors started splitting into larger groups, and one group left the city. But Olive thinks they are gone because they went into the jungle and never came back. She's paranoid and freaks out the moment a couple of dogs get into a barking competition. He tries to calm her down, but she can't continue the conversation now. The guy from before goes outside the city and enters the jungle alone, or so he thinks. A monster ambushes him from behind and jumps him, but he loses his shotgun during the struggle. A group of strangers comes to his rescue and shoots the monster, wondering what he's doing here and calling him a killer. He shows them the teleport dart he grabbed earlier and says he has something they're going to want to see. This guy's name is Keith, and he says he took the dart from the hooded man, the one who's been kidnapping their people. The woman's name is Maria, and she agrees to take him back to see Edward, but he had better keep his distance because they think he killed his family. Keith says he didn't do it. It was the Faceless Men who took his family, but nobody believes his story because nobody else has seen these Faceless Men. The way back to their camp is dangerous. There are monsters everywhere and they need to keep quiet. While they were hiding, Keith manages to escape, but Maria wants to focus on their mission so they don't chase after him. It's the 10-year anniversary since the transference happened, and Nathan goes back to work at one of his secret lockers, but someone is spying on him from a distance. Duncan wakes up screaming in the middle of the night and nearly hits Bridget with a lamp. He's been having episodes recently. Even though he left Oblivion a long time ago, he still hasn't fully recovered. Nathan is working on a machine of some sort, but it doesn't work, which is pissing him off. He goes back inside the containment zone and finds Bridget crying in a corner. She tells him about Duncan's episodes, and he thinks he should talk to other people who have been inside Oblivion. Nathan goes back inside to find more survivors, but this place is crawling with dangerous creatures. He hides from them and hears someone calling for help. He gets closer to see who it is, but he falls straight into a trap and is hanged upside down. It's Maria and her crew who want to take him prisoner, but he puts up one hell of a fight. Nonetheless, he is overpowered, but they need to keep quiet because there's a giant monster roaming the streets. They want to take him back to Edward, their leader, but upon hearing that name, Nathan says he might be his brother. Maria wonders if his name is Nathan because she knows about him also. Edward is really his brother. Realizing the truth, she decides to untie his hands, but not before he explains what the teleport darts actually do. Bridget talks to her husband and suggests talking to other people who've been rescued from Oblivion, but he doesn't want to do it. He claims he just needs to work. He needs to lose himself in the work, because that's what helps him. She goes outside to take a break, but Director Ward and a bunch of soldiers have come to take over the base. Director Ward says he's here because Nathan's been working on something secretly, and he thinks it might be a bomb. The way back to camp is dangerous and beautiful at the same time, but not everyone is happy to have Nathan with them, and one guy nearly pushes him over the edge. He's been kidnapping their people and they hold a grudge, even though he claims he's saving people, not kidnapping them. They finally arrive at their destination, a camp built inside the jungle where humanity has found a way to thrive. If you are enjoying the video, please stop for a second and subscribe to my channel. It really helps a lot. Thank you. Maria has a son who's very happy that she's back alive and safe. Nathan comes face to face with his brother, and they are both happy to see each other, even though they weren't on good terms before. Edward admits that most of it was his fault. He never made things easy on his younger brother, and all he ever did was screw things up. Nathan claims he's been taking people back to their dimension, back home on Earth. It's still there, even though a lot of people thought it was destroyed. But Edward says he didn't need to be found. He's happy here, happier than he ever was before. He did a lot of bad things to a lot of people. He was a different person before, a crappy person who always took the easy way out. But he's different now. This place changed him. It changed all of them, and it's made them better. This is their home now, and they're never going back. Suddenly, they're attacked by giant birds who come at them from the sky as they run for cover. Everyone gets information and they use bows and arrows to kill one of the creatures. It's not their first rodeo. They spend the night huddled together around a barbecue, eating some delicious bird meat, but Nathan gracefully declines. The person spying on him before was working for the military, and Director Ward finds the thing he was working on, claiming it's a bomb. The others are just as shocked as he is, which means they had no idea what he was working on, but they're still not out of the woods just yet. They want to find Nathan as soon as possible, but he's been missing inside Oblivion for over 24 hours. Maria and Edward are romantically involved, and she shows him the teleport dart that his brother uses to take people back home. She wonders if he really trusts him, but he's never given him a reason to doubt him before. Edward tells his brother that life here is good, it's better than before. They even live for something and they take care of each other. None of them want it to end, but Nathan wonders if he speaks for everyone here. Duncan and his wife return back home, where they run into Benjamin. While Duncan was trapped inside Oblivion, she dated him for a while. He's a good guy, but she went back to her husband once he got back. Nathan wants his brother to come back home with him and see what he's truly given up. He talks to Maria and convinces her to let him go. If life is truly back to normal back home, he needs to see it for himself and come back to tell his people. Wouldn't she want a better life for her son? Before leaving, he gives her the teleport dart. It's still active, and if he doesn't come back in 1 week, she should use it to come and find him. Before going back to Earth, they need to get down to ground level, because this camp is built on top of a giant tree. If they return home, they're gonna fall from the sky and get killed. Nathan miscalculated, and they've walked quite a bit outside of the city. They arrive inside a quiet neighborhood, but at least it worked and they're safe. They go back to the city where they run into the FBI who have come to arrest Nathan. They arrest him and take him to headquarters, while Edward is left behind to wander the streets alone. This world seems strange to him. He bumps into people and gets called out for smelling bad. Maybe he should shower. Nathan is sorry he kept that device a secret from his co-workers, and especially from Heather. But it's true. It has something to do with the transference. However, he claims it should have never pulled so much power. It should have never pulled that big of an area into Oblivion. But there was something on the other side, a bridge increasing the power exponentially. What happened in Philadelphia, all those people lost, 10 square miles gone in an instant, it was all his fault. He built a machine that did all of it, and he's been feeling guilty ever since. Keith is sitting by himself next to a warm fire when he hears a noise close by. He wasn't lying before when he said that there are faceless people, because they are real and he wants them to take him to his family. Once they discovered the existence of another dimension, they were amazed. A world where they could store things, a pathway they could use for transportation. The possibilities were endless, and they had to learn everything they could about it. They were an independent think tank, funded by grants, who believed that their work was more important than anything else in their lives. Their small team consisted of brilliant scientists from different backgrounds, with different areas of expertise. Together they were able to build a device called the binary tether generator. The generator was created to speed their molecules up to the speed of the energy from the other dimension. It would create a disruption field in the immediate area, pull them to the other side and vice versa, so they could view the overlap. They were so confident in what they were doing that the argument wasn't if they would activate it, but rather when. Finally, the day came to turn on the machine. But at first it seemed like all the device did was knock out a portion of the city's electrical grid. In those first moments, nobody noticed anything had changed. The streets looked the same, but the sky wasn't right. They started to see things, flashes of an odd bird in the sky, a strange insect, and that's when they first noticed the Oblivion Song. Things around the edges of the city escalated faster, but they were at the center of the transferred area. It took time to reach them, but when it finally did, all hell broke loose as thousands of monsters started invading the streets, attacking anything in sight. The group of scientists were killed in the early moments, and soon, only Nathan and Catherine had survived. They went outside and realized what they had done, that they'd pulled a whole section of Philadelphia into this new dimension. What they did was impossible. They didn't have a fraction of the power needed to boost their signal to achieve that kind of range, but it still happened. Nathan and Catherine went on a mission to turn on the machine again and make things right, but the power was gone, and they needed to gather batteries to power the machine. It worked, but Catherine was killed just before turning it on, so Nathan returned home alone. That's when he realized the full extent of what had been done. They hadn't just pulled their area into another dimension, but they'd traded places and brought some of that dimension here. Nathan focused his life toward getting those people back. He used the device to develop the technology used in the rescue effort. He only had to reverse engineer his team's technology, but everyone called him a genius. Everything happened because of him and his team, and he feels sorry, but Director Ward finds him disgusting, while Heather is disappointed in him for not telling her the truth. Bridget talks to Duncan and tells him about the man she was dating while he was stuck in Oblivion. Things haven't been great between them, And it's mostly because Oblivion still haunts Duncan, and he can't put it behind him. Director Ward says they're gonna keep Nathan locked up for a very long time while they figure out a way to weaponize the device. A couple of his buddies in the defense department are itching to get their hands on it. Heather visits Nathan in prison and gives him 2 teleport darts, saying he needs to get out of here because they want to weaponize his device and he needs to stop that from happening. He uses one of the darts on himself, but the prison was on the 2nd floor and he begins free falling in the other dimension. Luckily, he lands in the middle of a swamp and the water saves his life, but he's not out of the woods just yet. This place is crawling with sea monsters and they come at him from all sides. He manages to escape and arrives in a strange place, which is calmer and much safer, but he sees humanoid shapes somewhere in the background. He uses the 2nd dart and is teleported back home, but a car nearly runs him over. He's had one hell of a day and goes to his only friend in the city, Duncan, who isn't thrilled to see him. Nonetheless, Duncan lets him in and allows him to take a shower and clean himself up. Nathan wants his help in finding the device and stealing it from the military, but Duncan refuses to help. Meanwhile, his brother goes to see Lucy, a former girlfriend who's happy to see him, but she's dating another man now. He tells her about Oblivion and how amazing it is. There are rolling hills over the horizon, and beauty as far as the eye can see. There are 3 suns and the sunsets are amazing. They play off each other, and at different times of the year they go down in a different order. Nathan comes knocking at the door. He knew that Edward would eventually come to see Lucy. He tells him about his plan to steal the device and his brother agrees to help him. He just needs to point him in the right direction. Director Ward knows that Heather is the one who helped Nathan escape, but he can't prove it yet, so he just threatens her. The 2 brothers go back to the convergence zone and stock up on some gear. This place is safe because the military is scared to leave guards here since it's dangerous. But Edward agrees to help his brother on one condition. When this is over, he wants him to take him back to Oblivion and abandon him there. He was happy there, and he doesn't belong here anymore. In Oblivion, things were different. He has his life together, and all of his distractions were gone. His life was simple. Life over there is better, and Nathan shouldn't be talking him into coming back. In fact, they should be focusing on bringing everyone over there. Nathan thinks his brother is crazy, but everyone in Edward's camp treats each other as equals. There's no fighting, no hierarchy, and no taking advantage of the needy. All those problems are gone. Nathan says he's been there and it's not safe. There's danger lurking around every corner and no shortage of creatures who want to eat you. But nobody in Edward's camp was cowering in fear. Before they could finish talking, the cops show up and break inside, asking them to surrender. But the 2 brothers do the opposite and use the teleport belts to go into Oblivion. The fighting continues there as well, but Edward insists on remaining here after they steal the device back, and Nathan eventually concedes. They only needed to travel in the direction they wanted before returning back to Earth and arriving at the military base where the device is being kept. But getting inside won't be easy because this place is heavily guarded, so they teleport back into Oblivion to pass the gates safely. Oblivion, however, is a dangerous place and a giant monster attacks them. Nathan is taken prisoner and is about to be eaten alive, but he doesn't want to attack it because he thinks the animals are innocent. Nonetheless, he does it and stabs the monster in the eye, which causes it to let him go. They get to where the military building is located and teleport back to Earth, arriving in the basement parking lot. Heather is here waiting for them and wants to help, saying they're never gonna find the device without her help. One of the doors is locked, so Nathan jumps towards it while simultaneously teleporting into Oblivion and back to Earth on the other side. This allowed him to phase through the door and get inside. 2 soldiers arrive, but they get shot with teleport darts and get sent into Oblivion. Together they steal the device and load it onto a truck, but before leaving, Nathan needs to do something. He goes back to Oblivion and wants to send the 2 guards from before back home, but not before telling them about the military's plan to weaponize the device, saying he's actually the good guy. Breaking out of the building is a lot easier than breaking in. This place was built to keep people out, not in. Nathan says the device has its own battery and can be activated at any time. That's why they had to steal it back. God knows what might have happened if someone had accidentally turned it on. Hearing this causes Edward to turn it on himself, even though that's exactly what his brother was trying to prevent. He claims he's brought more people to a better, saner world, so they can be saved as he was saved. Out of nowhere, a truck runs straight into them, which overturns the car and throws the device out onto the streets. The same thing as before happened and a chunk of the city was teleported into Oblivion, but this time only a couple of blocks. The device was damaged and Nathan checks to see if it could still work, and things look promising. But before they could turn it on again, his brother jumps him and claims he won't let him take these people back. Out of nowhere, a monster jumps towards them and hits Edward, pinning him to the ground. He tries to push it with his legs, but this thing is massive and much stronger than him, and it manages to bite him on the shoulder. His brother comes to the rescue and stabs the monster in the eye. Unfortunately, the damage is much more severe and Edward is missing a big chunk of his arm and begins bleeding heavily. Back on Earth, things are looking just as bad because a big portion of Oblivion was teleported here and monsters are running rampant on the streets. Heather is shocked to see this happening once again and wonders if she made the right choice by helping her boyfriend. A monster sees her and begins chasing her, but escaping isn't easy because everyone is panicking. She falls on the ground and is about to be eaten alive when someone blows the monster's head right off. It's Director Ward who says he wasn't going to let that thing eat her because that'd be too easy. He's gonna make sure that she and her boyfriend fry for what they've done. The part of the city that was teleported into Oblivion is a mess, and there are monsters running everywhere. But while this is happening, Nathan is trying to fix the device which was damaged during the car crash. Back on Earth, things are looking pretty much the same. The monsters have taken over the streets and people are panicking. Duncan goes to help and tries to save as many people as possible. He's been through this before, so it feels familiar to him. A couple of cops are pinned down and cornered by monsters, but someone comes to their rescue. This guy's name is Marco de la Cruz and he was in Oblivion before, just as Duncan, and knows how to deal with these things. Together with the cops, they form a defense perimeter and start clearing the streets, dealing with monsters one by one. Nathan is thankful that his brother didn't try to stop him from fixing the device, but if he did that, they would both be killed by monsters. Their location is quickly overrun by monsters, and the only way out of there is by running. But Nathan needs to take the device with him. This thing is heavy, but Edward remembers seeing an ogre before, a giant white monster. He was right, because the ogre is just up ahead, and they lure the other monsters straight to it. This thing loves devouring the smaller ones, but they need to get the hell out of there before it finishes. They take the device as close to the center of the city as possible, hoping to take everyone back to Earth. But Edward wants him to reconsider, claiming these people are better off here. This place is amazing, but Nathan never got a chance to experience it properly. He's never seen the annual synchronized sunrise. He's never taken a boat down the tranquil river. Edward was scum back there. He was nothing but a burden to his brother. He never contributed anything. But here, he's thrived and built a life for himself, a whole community that needs him. The two brothers continue fighting and can't reach an agreement, so Nathan takes one of the darts and stabs his brother with it, sending him back to Earth. Once he is alone, he powers on the machine and uses it to send the city block back to its original place, claiming he sent his brother where he belongs. Things are almost back to normal. The part of the city is brought back, but there are still monsters running around. Nathan thinks that playing with the device is much too dangerous, so he wants to destroy it and starts hitting it with a crowbar. When he is finished, the ogre from before attacks him, but he asks the cops to stay back because he can handle this. He still has teleport darts and uses one of them to send the monster back to Oblivion. Heather wants Director Ward to arrest her, but he doesn't carry handcuffs and is confident she's not going to escape. Duncan returns to his wife's apartment, but she's together with Benjamin now, her boyfriend. He admits he hasn't been the same ever since he came back from Oblivion, but going out tonight on the streets trying to help people, it was exhilarating and he felt alive. He promises to get some help for his mental problems and says goodbye to her, acknowledging that their relationship is over. Nathan returns back to his apartment, where Lucy is waiting for him. She's been in a horrible relationship ever since Edward disappeared, with a guy who's abusive and even threatened to kill her if she ever left him. She wanted to take Edward's offer and go to Oblivion with him, the only place she would feel safe, but Nathan sent his brother back. Duncan goes to an Oblivion survivors meeting, where he meets with a woman named Olive, and the two of them hit it off. He used to come here when he first got back from there, but this place has quickly grown in numbers. Even though Edward was sent back to Earth, when his brother turned on the machine in Oblivion, they swapped places once again and he came back. He went back to the camp and told Marie that he doesn't belong there anymore. His place is here with his people. Nathan shows up out of nowhere, but he claims he comes in peace and doesn't want any trouble. He brought Lucy here since she wanted to escape her abusive boyfriend and start a life here, but Marie isn't too thrilled to see her hugging her boyfriend. Nathan wants to go back home and face the consequences of his actions. But before leaving, he gives his brother a teleport belt, saying he might need it in the future. As soon as he gets back, he is arrested by Director Ward, but at least so is Heather, and they get to be together one final time. Meanwhile, Keith, the man who was abducted earlier, is being experimented on by a strange race of aliens, the same ones who kidnapped his family. 3 years later, a team of researchers is collecting samples from Oblivion and taking them back to Earth. They are ambushed by an ogre who viciously comes at them, but one of the soldiers tries to lure it away. He succeeds and manages to escape it just in time, while his team makes it back to Earth safely with the samples. His name is Marco, the same guy from the attack on the streets earlier and one of Nathan's friends. These researchers are working for the Bridget and Duncan Freeman Foundation, and they are collecting samples from Oblivion and using them to develop antibiotics that have changed modern medicine. The two of them have built this foundation together, even though they aren't together anymore. Each of them has separate loving relationships now. Nathan is doing his time in jail, but everyone loves him here because he fixes broken things for the inmates. Director Ward visits him and says they've been running the numbers for nearly 2 years now. No matter how you slice it, there simply wasn't enough power for his device to have had the range it had. Something from the other side must have boosted it. But from everything they've seen, Oblivion is a primitive world. However, Nathan remembers a brief moment after he escaped those water monsters, when he thought he saw something in the swamp, something technological. He is released from prison, and he quickly reunites with Heather, who is just coming to see him. Meanwhile, in Oblivion, a group of people from the camp have descended down to the swamp to collect water. They do this twice or 3 times per week, but they are using animals which can climb the walls, making things a lot easier. Dane is the one leading the expedition, but they hear someone calling for help. He takes a small team and they head into the forest, but they don't know from where the sound is coming. They run into a creature, which looks just like the ones from earlier, who says it's a scared human who needs help. Dane freaks the fuck out and tells his people to run, but the faceless creature claims it's here to help. They don't need to run. The people are being grabbed by some sort of machines with tentacles, and only Dane manages to escape. He reunites with the others and asks everyone to abandon the mules and just run before it's too late. He is grabbed as well, but he manages to shoot one of the machines and free himself, but he begins free-falling through the dense vegetation until he reaches the swamp below. One by one, the people are captured and taken somewhere, and when Dane climbs back up, he only finds the mules carrying water. Nathan's friends threw a welcome home party for him, and everyone is happy to see him after 3 years spent in prison. Duncan apologizes for not visiting him, but he got caught up in the work and time flew by so fast. Maria, Edward's girlfriend in Oblivion, chose to leave that place and come back to Earth, where she leads a normal life now. Edward got together with Lucy, so they decided to split up, but her son isn't adjusting very well. The hardest part is that he doesn't relate to kids here. It's like he despises them for how easy their lives are. Nathan can't help but feel guilty for what happened in Philadelphia, but Heather says he is just part of a team. He's only partially responsible for what happened. Besides, because of that accident, they've been able to develop new medicines which have saved the lives of thousands of people, and that number is only going to grow exponentially from here. Even though he had a great time and it was nice seeing his friends, he kinda wants to go back to Oblivion. Dane eventually arrives back to the camp and says that the Faceless Men are real, and they've kidnapped his crew. He's exhausted and faints in front of everyone, but Edward grabs him and wants to take him to the infirmary as soon as possible. Lucy doesn't know what happened to him and wonders if he's lost his mind, but for everyone's sake, they hope he did. Heather takes Nathan back to the convergence site, which has grown exponentially since the last time he was here. Since they have a lot of funding now, they've been trying to figure out a way to grow spores here in this dimension. Less dangerous trips, so they can produce more of the valuable plant life. They have multiple teams working now, which work in tightly scheduled 3-hour shifts. In fact, Marco is leading a team over there right now, and it looks like they should be back any minute now. But Oblivion is a dangerous place and the team was just attacked by a couple of monsters. But everyone is safe. Usually those kind of monsters are friendly, but something must have spooked them. Out of nowhere, the Faceless Men appear, riding monster horses and armed with rifles, but the crew has no idea who they are. Marco gives the order to evacuate, but people begin pressing the teleporter on their belts, but the Faceless Men shoot them with a strange substance. This prevents them from teleporting and they are stuck here with no way of going back home. Marco jumps in front of Cynthia and manages to send her back, but he gets shot in her place and is taken prisoner. Cynthia arrives back home but is scared as hell, saying they were attacked by some kind of aliens and Marco and the rest were taken prisoners. Without thinking too much, Nathan gears up and teleports into Oblivion, trying to save his friend before it's too late. He climbs on top of the highest building and sees the Faceless Men gearing up and preparing to leave somewhere. Meanwhile, Dane says that the Faceless Men are using floating machines to kidnap people. They are capturing them and his crew is still alive somewhere. Edward says he's going to find them and then goes back outside where they keep a giant bird prisoner for situations like this. Director Ward arrives and is furious to find out that Nathan went into Oblivion without clearance, saying he expects him to follow the rules. Edward's people have been taken to a strange place, but they are unharmed and confused. The alien who kidnapped them wants them to get up and move, promising they have nothing to be afraid of as long as they keep moving forward. Nathan begins following the other ones, who take the road back through the city, but this place is dangerous and he runs into a giant ogre which was feeding. He lures the monster to the aliens and forces them to fight each other. While they are distracted, he sneaks undetected and manages to find Marco amidst the chaos and teleports both of them back to Earth. Edward uses the giant bird to scan the area from above, but this place is huge and he doesn't know exactly where they are. He eventually finds them inside the forest, stopping to drink some water, and decides to attack them. He comes at them full force, using the giant bird to crash directly into them. But these aliens are armed, and it's not easy. They retreat into the dense vegetation and he flies back up, trying to come at them a second time. Suddenly, something shoots at him from the ground, injuring the bird and carving a giant hole through its wing. These guys are well equipped, and they use the giant ship, which is armed with a laser, to shoot the bird straight from the sky. Keith emerges from the ship, but he looks different now and tells the aliens that Dane is useless to them alone. They need to keep their distance and track him because he's gonna lead them straight to the rest of his people. Nathan broke the rules by going into Oblivion without following protocol, and Director Ward is furious. The two of them haven't seen eye to eye in the past, but he claims he's different now. He knows that what they are doing here is good for humanity. That's why he can't allow for anything bad to happen, and he expects people to follow protocol. But the Faceless Men are a threat to this whole operation, and Nathan wants to go back inside so that he can get more answers. But Director Ward doesn't think it's a good idea. Edward's been missing for too long, so Dane wants to go after him, but he's in no condition to do that. Suddenly, Edward returns, but he looks injured and exhausted. He had to walk all the way here since his bird was killed. Unfortunately, he didn't see any of their people, but the Faceless Men are real. There was something else, something bigger, deeper in the jungle. That's what shot him out of the sky, and it's where they could be keeping their people. He wants to gather a raiding party and get their people back, but Lucy says he's in no condition to go anywhere. He barely made it back alive. The people who were kidnapped were tied to the wall, but they recognize Keith and ask what happened to him. He wants them to keep quiet, because the Faceless Men can muzzle them if they need to. Nathan received only a warning for his stunt earlier, but Heather is just as angry with him. Everyone's been freaking out after encountering the Faceless Men, and they don't know when they'll be sending another expedition, if ever. Just as Edward and his people were preparing to leave the camp and find the others, the Faceless Men arrive and begin an assault. The only reason they let him escape is because they followed him and used him to find the camp and the others. Edward wants his people to set free a couple of ogres, which they've been keeping trapped as a defense mechanism. Unfortunately, they are no match for the aliens, who managed to kidnap Lucy and her baby. Edward is being picked up by one of the flying machines, but it is unable to hold him, and he begins free falling. His brother comes to his rescue and manages to grab him before falling to his death. More and more people are being taken, while the two brothers climb back on the side of the camp. Edward blames himself for leading them here, but Nathan says there's no time for that. They can still save them. Every single person in the camp has been taken prisoner by the Faceless Men, and there's nothing they can do about it. Edward says he named his kid Scott after his dad. He would have wanted it that way. One of the aliens was injured during the fight, but he's still alive and he grabs him by the leg. He wants to take both of them for study. Nathan tries to save his brother and the two of them get into a fight, but this alien is quite fast for such a big dude. Nathan stabs him in the chest, but the alien is unfazed and takes the knife out as if it didn't even hurt him. He then uses it to stab Nathan in the chest, but humans are much more easily injured and he screams in agony. Luckily, his brother is still in one piece, and he comes to his rescue by stabbing the alien with a spear. The alien is badly injured, but so is Nathan, and he needs to take him to a hospital back on Earth. The camp is several stories high into the trees, so they use the corpse of an ogre to soften their fall on Earth. The plan works, but they landed inside the monster and they are covered in blood and flesh, which is kinda disgusting. Nathan is taken to the hospital where the doctors begin operating on him, but Heather wants to break inside and check up on him herself. Maria shows up, and she feels bad for him, especially after he tells her that the aliens kidnapped Lucy and his baby. The prisoners were brought to the alien ship, where they are instructed to walk inside freely or be carried in. Dane accuses Keith of betraying his own people, but his people turned on him and exiled him when they thought he killed his family, so he doesn't have any sympathy for them. Nathan survives the operation and he's gonna be just fine. He says he remembers seeing the faceless people 3 years ago in the swamp, but he didn't know what they were. He remembers he saw what looked like a base, and he thinks he knows how to find them. Meanwhile, Keith arrives at the base where his family is safe and sound, including his wife and daughter Chrissy. The people were taken inside holding cells, but they are freaking out, while Lucy is trying to calm her baby down. An alien named Gozan Dakul walks in and asks one of them to follow him, claiming he's here to help him escape. He thinks he's gonna make it and does exactly as the alien tells him, but things quickly take a dark turn. Instead of setting him free, the alien breaks his neck and then asks what kind of world could he have come from, calling humans soft creatures. Keith is having dinner with his family while the mother tells their daughter about cars. Keith can't help but feel like he's betraying his own kind, but his wife reminds him that he's the one who helped the aliens learn their language. That's the main reason they spared his family, because of his helping them. They experimented on them as well, and she never wants to go back there, so he better keep helping them or else. The experiments begin, but some of them are painful and the people scream in agony. Somewhere else, the aliens are sitting together in a room filled with gold decor, and they seem to be sleeping or praying. Their leader is Lord Halleck, and he puts on a fancy armor because he wants to speak to Keith. He compliments him on helping them gather more humans. They have so many of his kind now, and the answer they seek will come much faster now. However, Lord Halleck gets angry because he never told them about the teleport darts, which take humans back to Earth, but Keith didn't know what they do, even though he saw Nathan use them before. He promises to find out everything he can about them, or else. Next, Lord Halleck confronts Gozan Dakul, accusing him of killing prisoners behind their backs. But Dakul doesn't answer to him. He's here to ensure that their mission goes according to plan, and they succeed in finding out everything they can about humans. He then threatens Lord Halleck, saying he's not afraid of him, saying he's tempted to kill him right where he stands, just to show how useless his elite guards are. The two of them belong to two different clans, but they eventually decide to focus on the mission, which is to know more about Earth. Dakul vows to know the human strengths and their weaknesses, and whatever the Kurag decides, whether they live or die, he will be ready. In the past, Edward and Dane were out in the forest picking some delicious fruit when he got the news that Lucy had gone into labor. She gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, and he decided to name him Scott, after his dad. They were both happy to be here, at the edge of the known universe, and couldn't wait to think of the adventure their lives would be. In the present, Nathan is feeling a lot better, but his wound hasn't fully healed just yet, and he can't even stand up properly. His brother comes to visit him, but he runs into Maria and her son. Mateo is still upset with him for abandoning him and his mother. He was like a father to him, but he just left to be with Lucy. Since Nathan is still recovering from his injury, Marco is accompanying him back into Oblivion, and they're gonna try and find the alien base. Another person is taken from the prison and only Lucy and another girl are left. She is trying to calm her baby down, but the other woman is freaking out, saying they don't know what they do with them, and it's their turn next. Director Ward visits Nathan in the hospital and says that after they find the alien base, he's gonna attempt a rescue mission. Those people are their people after all, even though they've been in Oblivion for the past 13 years. The two guys are making their way through the thick jungle, following Nathan's direction, but Marco couldn't help but try out some delicious fruits. He wonders what they are because they taste amazing, but they look to be monster eggs, not real fruit. They find the alien base, hidden in the jungle, and one of the aliens transporting a prisoner. Edward freaks out and says they're alive, so he starts running towards the base, desperately trying to rescue them. He's thinking about Lucy and his son and not thinking clearly, so Marco takes him back to Earth, saying they're gonna get them back now that they know where they are. Gozan Dakul comes to the cell and asks Lucy and her baby to follow him, saying her time has come as well. Director Ward gives Edward the big boss speech, saying he nearly ruined their scouting operations. He knows he shouldn't have rushed like that, but he saw one alien taking people somewhere and he thought he was leading him to his wife and son. It's already been a couple of days since they found out where the base is, but so far, they haven't done anything. Well, almost anything, because Director Ward shows them what they've been working on. They are building a base of operations in the same spot where the alien base is located inside Oblivion, and they're gonna attempt a rescue mission soon. Meanwhile, the people are being experimented upon, but it's very painful, and Keith feels bad about watching his own kind suffer. Lucy is being taken somewhere by Dakul, but they run into another alien from the rival clan. They get into a confrontation, and Dakul cuts off his opponent's hand. But this doesn't faze him at all, because these aliens can regroup parts of their body and the fighting continues. While they are occupied with each other, Lucy takes her baby and manages to sneak away. Dakul eventually overpowers his opponent and asks him to return to his master, but he's pissed that he lost Lucy in the process. They're starting trial runs today back to Oblivion, and Nathan wants to be a part of it, but he's still not fully healed and Heather doesn't allow it. He keeps pushing it and eventually she agrees to let him go, but not without her keeping an eye on him the whole time. Marco is the one leading the jumps, and he arrives inside the alien base, where he begins marking safe places which the crew can use to make the jumps. Each spot he makes represents a safe location back on Earth, on the same structure which they've built inside the city. Meanwhile, Lucy found a safe place that is also loud enough so they can't hear her baby crying. Eventually she is found by Keith, who thinks she's found a pretty good hiding spot and compliments her. Marco goes on another mission, but he was only supposed to be gone for 20 minutes, and it's already been an hour. Suddenly he comes back with one of the aliens, but they're both fighting and the others don't know what to do. This guy's quite big and he barely fits inside the room, asking them to let him go. Director Ward wants to talk to him, feeling confident that he's not armed with any kind of weapons, or he would have used them already. The alien claims they have faces, but not the ones humans have, and their race is called Kuthal. They've been interrogating him for hours and he's cooperating. Apparently, they've been trying to come to Earth because there's something wrong with their world. They call it growth, but Heather doesn't know what it means. It could mean overpopulation or pollution. Also, the weapons they use seem to be non-lethal. They don't seem to have projectiles that kill. Meanwhile, Keith is taking Lucy somewhere, but they run into one of the guards, who thinks that she's his wife. Apparently, they can't see very well. They use echolocation to see. He wears a special uniform so they can tell him apart from the rest. He brings her to his home, but his wife isn't too happy to see her, fearing for what might happen to them. Keith is curious to know about the teleport darts and asks Lucy what they are. She tells him it's a device that can take them home. They've been using it to bring people back and forth, but he had no idea they can do this. Nathan talks to the alien and wants to find out more, but it only says it cares about its own people. They must somehow escape their growth. Director Ward is tired of interrogating him and thinks he's wasting time. The alien is cooperating, but it's not giving him anything useful, so he decides to send a rescue team back into Oblivion, a team led by a guy named Oscar, who's been working with Marco this whole time. Nathan's wound is almost fully healed, mostly thanks to the new medicine they were able to make, based on what they bring back from Oblivion. The team is led by Oscar and Marco, but they also have Edward and Maria to help guide them through Oblivion, if needed. The alien base consists of multiple levels, but Oscar wants them to start at ground level and try and find the holding cells, where they are keeping prisoners. So far so good, but they are not alone. Gozan Dakul knows of their presence and is preparing an ambush. This place is huge, but they've spent an entire week inside, mapping it out and preparing for the mission. However, during their scouting, Edward barely made it through these corridors without being spotted, and they find it suspicious that now, it's kind of clear. They are right to be suspicious, but they need to keep moving forward and find the holding cells, even though Dakul is following them from above. They enter a dark room, but they aren't alone. There are many aliens above them, hiding on the ceiling and waiting for the right time to strike. One of them visits Keith's home and asks him to get dressed because his presence is required immediately. The attack begins, and the aliens jump down from the ceiling and attack the crew, but Dakul arrives and demands to know who ordered the attack. They are trying to find a way to their home world to collect more specimens, and he wants them to stand down. The aliens use some kind of special weapon to stop them from teleporting back, but now the crew is wearing some kind of cloaks to counter it. One of the guys freaks out, panics, and wants to teleport back home, but they aren't in one of the safe spots here. He arrives back home, but they are several hundred feet into the air, and he begins free-falling to his death. They eventually find the prisoners and begin freeing them, but Lucy and her baby are missing. The crew uses a special flashlight to see the marked places where it's safe to jump back, and one by one, the prisoners are taken back to Earth. Dakul is working with some engineers, trying to understand how the humans are teleporting back to Earth and identify the frequency shift. They wonder how they didn't think of this before, but now that they know how they teleport, Dakul wants to stop them before they all escape. Keith runs into Edward and says he has his wife. He wants to take him to them, but only if he promises to take them back to Earth. Edward agrees, but out of nowhere, Dakul attacks them and kills Keith on the spot. Meanwhile, back on Earth, things are looking bad also, because the prisoner manages to escape and steals a teleport belt, saying they're gonna escape growth thanks to their technology. He teleports into Oblivion and tries to go back to his people, but Nathan follows him and shoots him in the shoulder. His brother is fighting Dakul and his guards, but he manages to shoot one of them with teleport darts. The alien is taken to Earth, but he begins free-falling to his death and lands on the pavement below, killing him on the spot. Edward vows to do the same thing to the others as well, and they let him escape, claiming he's not important. The crew is getting cornered and their jump spots are compromised, but they still have a few left. But the alien attacks continue and one of them is taken prisoner. Nathan gets close to the alien and thinks he killed it, but he didn't, and it gets up and attacks him. This time he shoots him point blank straight in the abdomen, and the thing falls on top of him, breathless. He's not out of the woods just yet, because a giant monster jumps out of the water and grabs him, but he manages to free himself by uncoupling his jacket. Unfortunately, his teleport belt is destroyed and so are his remaining teleport darts. He's kind of stuck, with no way of getting back home. The crew is being surrounded on all sides with no way of escape, so Oscar gives the order to stay close because he wants to use a teleport mine. This mine has a bigger radius, which takes the remaining survivors back to Earth, but it also takes a couple of aliens with them. Marco easily takes them out with his machine gun, and the people are now safe, but some of them don't even understand where they are. Edward and his wife are still missing, alongside his brother Nathan, but Director Ward is refusing to send a rescue party after them. These aliens are intelligent and they are doing everything possible to find a way to Earth. Another mission is just too risky. Starting immediately, all access to Oblivion is cut off permanently. Lord Halak accuses Dakul of failing the mission, saying he will be stripped of his title and removed from the Gozan rank, but Dakul could say the same thing about him. Keith's family is being taken somewhere alongside Lucy and her baby, but someone shoots them with teleport darts. It's Edward, who comes to his wife's rescue and jumps in to fight the alien. He dodges the initial attack and then uses the belt on himself, disappearing right before his eyes. But Nathan was also here, watching the scene from a distance, screaming for his brother's attention, but it's too late. 3 years have passed since Nathan was left stranded in Oblivion, and he's spending his time searching for spare parts to build another teleport device. Out of nowhere, he gets attacked by a bunch of spider monsters, who jump on top of him and nearly cover him entirely. He jumps through a glass window and begins free-falling, but the vegetation is overgrown, and it softens his landing. He's got a pet horse named Lightning, and he uses him to run away, but the spiders are after them. This animal is quite fast and they eventually escape, but he refuses to slow down and keeps accelerating. He was actually running to reunite with another monster horse, but this one is being ridden by a Kuthal named Gakal. Nathan's made a few friends in the past 3 years spent here, including Gakal and his daughter Nanul. He's been gathering parts to try and build a device that replicates Earth's arid atmosphere, but it's not easy, especially with what little materials they have. Gakal overheard a transmission from his people, claiming they're close to finishing a teleport device which will allow them to go to Earth. Nathan says they should have broken into their facility and stolen it a long time ago, but those places are heavily guarded and they would have died trying. Gakal is a scientist as well, and he was working on a similar device with his people when Nathan was doing his experiments on Earth. Their people tapped into the signal from Earth which caused the transference to happen. That's where the immense source of energy originated from. Unfortunately, their planet is being slowly consumed by the growth, so they want to go to Earth. But there will be war, and many will die. The Kuthal don't fear humans, they've studied them extensively, and they know how primitive they are. So Nathan's been trying to build a device that will help their world, trying to convince them to abandon their mission of going to Earth, but so far, it hasn't been working out. One day, Gakal overhears another transmission and says that his people have replicated Nathan's device and they're planning to invade Earth. 3 years ago, after the humans escaped the prison, Dakul took the fall and he was blamed for failing to ensure the mission's success. A royal guard was sent to deal with him, but he's an excellent fighter and he easily dealt with them. He chose to run away, but on his way out he found a teleport belt in the water and decided to take it, hoping to study it and replicate it. In the present, he is summoned to the throne room, where their leader, the great Kurag, sits. Kurag says that thanks to the teleport belt he found 3 years ago, they've been able to replicate the device and they finally have access to Earth. He wants him and his Gozan Legion to lead the invasion to Earth. Nathan wants to go back home and warn his people. He fixed his belt a year ago, but he kept it a secret from Gakal because he wanted to help him fix his own planet, thus averting a full-blown war between the two species. Unfortunately now, he doesn't have a choice and has to go back, but not before saying goodbye to Nanul, who's gotten quite close to him. He gets back on his horse and uses the belt to teleport back to Earth, but things have changed quite a lot while he was gone. Heather was promoted to director of the Oblivion Task Force and replaced Director Ward, who left the project. She spent the past 3 years studying everything she could about the Kuthal and gives a small presentation. The aliens have far more advanced modes of transportation, energy production and consumption, as well as far more sophisticated weaponry, but most of their weapons are non-lethal. Apparently, their planet is being overrun by the growth, a form of fungal spore that is slowly consuming their entire world. They have retreated to densely populated city centers, abandoning homes and smaller cities over the years. That's why they didn't cross paths during their many missions in Oblivion. To put it frankly, they're desperate. They have no choice but to try and come here, so a violent conflict between the two peoples is inevitable. They are 10 feet tall, they move quite quickly, and they are far stronger than their body build would indicate, which means they are extremely hard to kill. They don't seem to have brains as we know them, but more of a system of interconnected smaller brains, similar to an octopus. Simply put, 1-to-1, human versus Kuthal, humans don't stand a chance. But General Harker isn't impressed and wonders why they haven't invaded already if they're so much better than them. If they could, they'd be here already. But it's been close to 20 years since the first transference occurred, and still no invasion. Heather wasn't able to convince them to take things seriously and goes back home, where she's hiding a Kuthal named Dulam. We don't know where and how they met, but they've spent a lot of time together, learning about each other, and the Kuthal is thankful because she showed him kindness. Nathan is quickly surrounded by armed guards, but the moment he says he came from Oblivion, they taser him and then arrest him. He wakes up in the hospital and Bridget is watching over him, but she doesn't trust him just yet. It's been 3 years since the last time they saw each other. Heather arrives and is very happy to see he's alive, saying she can't think of anyone more trustworthy than him. He tells them about the upcoming invasion, and Heather knew it would happen one day, but they refuse to listen to her, and now it's too late. Dakul arrives on Earth for the first time and gets ready to begin his attack. Even though the government closed down the project and forbade anyone from going in Oblivion, Edward and Maria's son, Matteo, have been going on missions, desperately trying to find his brother. So far, they've been unsuccessful, and Duncan was waiting for them at the convergence site, saying they are 2 hours late. He doesn't work for the Foundation anymore. Instead, they are working with Director Ward, who's pissed off at them for breaking protocol. What a surprise. Their mission is retrieving samples so Duncan can continue his work for the good of mankind, while also looking for Nathan along the way as a favor to him. But Edward sometimes forgets. Edward goes back home and his son comes to hug him. He's a lot bigger now and can even run. Lucy comforts her husband, saying that Nathan is alive somewhere. He's survived Oblivion just as they have. They're living proof that it's not as dangerous as these government people are making it out to be. Nathan goes back home with Heather, and after taking a hot shower she cuts his hair. He is shocked to see that she's been living with the Kuthal all this time. But Dulam is one of the soldiers who was stranded here after they teleported to Earth. She and Director Ward hid him from the government, trying to get as much information from him as they could, but they quickly became friends. Dakul takes some kind of green balls and releases them into the air, and they quickly fly in different directions, but we don't know what these are. The guards from before surround him, and he promises to spare their lives if they surrender. Of course they refuse to, so he butchers all of them in an instant, using his sword to cut them into pieces. Next, Nathan goes back to the convergence site where he reunites with his brother. He tells them about the upcoming invasion and wants them to get ready, but it's already too late. The invasion begins, and the Gozan Legion arrives on Earth, backed by their powerful machines. Security guards break into Bridget's office and ask her to come with them, because they're taking her to the bunker. Nathan wants to assemble a team and confront the Kutal head-on, but his brother thinks that's suicide. They barely survived the confrontation with them before, and he thinks they should all pack their bags and go to Oblivion and leave the Earth for them. But Nathan thinks he's crazy. The Air Force was sent to deal with the invasion, and 2 fighter jets fire missiles towards them. But the Kutal are technologically superior, and they use some kind of weapon to dismantle the weapons mid-flight. On top of that, they also have force fields which protect them from any oncoming explosions and collisions. They then do the same thing to the fighter jets, causing them to tear apart into individual parts, similar to a transformer. Dakul calls them pathetic, but he lets the pilots run away, only to spread fear to the others and let them know how hopeless the coming battle is. Everyone is taken to the bunker, and Director Ward confronts General Harker, saying he's here to make sure he doesn't screw this up. Since the airplanes had no effect, the ground troops are sent to confront the aliens, but they might not be prepared for what's about to happen. Marco and Maria are still working for the Oblivion project, and they give Nathan a new teleport belt, saying this one is much faster with little to no disorientation. He is also reunited with Lightning, who is an intelligent animal and happy to see him. The soldiers were no match for the Kutal and were absolutely butchered, so Dakul leads the invasion towards the city. However, they are confronted by Nathan and his crew, who says that by the right of the Gozan Order, he challenges him to a duel. He invokes the right of duel, which cannot be denied by another Gozan, but Dakul doesn't understand how he knows about their rights. After he became friends with Gakal and his daughter, they taught him about their ways, and Nathan even took part in a ritual which made him stronger and also a Gozan. He claims he entered the mind state and endured the trials. He is a Gozan, and to prove it, he speaks their language. Dakul calls him a disgrace for trying to speak their language, but nonetheless he accepts the duel and a battle to the death begins. Nathan uses the new belt to teleport into Oblivion and back here, which allows him to dodge Dakul's attacks and even surprise him a couple of times. The others watch the duel from a distance, but Edward wants Marco to be ready, because if they see his brother losing the duel, they're gonna open fire. Meanwhile, Duncan and Bridget go to the lab and plan to work together on finding a way to stop the growth in Oblivion. Apparently the Kutal don't want to invade Earth. If they could stop the growth, they would continue living there. They're simply trying to escape a dying world. Nathan worked on humidity, temperature, air purification, pollutants, and greenhouse gases, but nothing worked. The growth thrives in Oblivion and dies on Earth. They just need to figure out why. Luckily, they have living samples here in the lab, so whatever it is that keeps them alive, they're already doing it. Now they just need to figure out what kills the growth. The duel continues, but Nathan's fragile body is getting tired, while Dakul can keep this up for longer. He gets cocky and claims he can anticipate his moves, but Nathan teleports behind him and manages to cut his body in half. His torso is separated from his legs, but Dakul claims it's too late. The invasion has already begun, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. Apparently, those little green balls were some kind of devices that caused the transference to happen in different places around the globe. They detonate in different cities around the world, which causes them to swap places with Kuthal cities from Oblivion. Paris, Hong Kong, Los Angeles have all been teleported to his world, while their cities have been brought here. Their plan worked, and their cities have arrived on Earth, but that's not all, because these cities are full of soldiers who are preparing to start the real invasion. The US Army didn't stand a chance against a small group of Kuthal. What chance do they have against a legion of them? Nathan wants Takal to stop the attack, but him winning the battle against him only grants him command over the Gozan Legion, which is a sect of warriors within the Kuthal. Director Ward wants to help the people who are stranded in Oblivion, and orders Nathan, Edward, and Marco to each pick a city and teleport there to help them. But Nathan has another idea. He now commands the Gozan Legion and is confident he can sneak inside the Kuthal city in Los Angeles and send it back where it came from. Heather also wants to go to the Kuthal capital and speak with their leader, hoping to find a diplomatic solution to end the invasion. Marco will go into Oblivion in his place, while Maria leads a team to Paris and Oscar another one in Hong Kong. Their main job is to help the people who are stuck in Oblivion and keep them safe until the military handles the invasion. Meanwhile, Duncan and Bridget are working around the clock to find a solution to the growth, but so far they haven't been successful. The first team arrives over Los Angeles, and while Marco and his team teleport into Oblivion, Nathan lands safely on the ground. He reunites with the Gozan Legion on the ground and asks them to keep the other Kuthal off his back while he tries to sneak inside their city. The way there is blocked by the growth and it won't be easy, but someone has to do it. Edward is gonna be Heather's bodyguard into Oblivion, but before heading off, she asked Dulam to come along. Matteo wants to go as well, saying his mother is risking her life in Paris and he wants to do his part, but it's much too dangerous for him. They arrive in Oblivion and Dulam claims he knows the way, but it's gonna take them a few hours to get there. Out of nowhere, he punches Edward in the face and then pins him to the ground. He claims that if they want to do this, they need to follow his rules. He can keep Heather safe, but he can't guarantee Edward's safety. Once they reach the capital, they're probably gonna kill him because he serves no purpose for them. He then activates Ed's belt and sends him back to Earth to the same spot they just were. There are multiple battles happening at the same time on both worlds. While the soldiers fight the Kuthal on Earth, Director Ward teams are fighting the monsters and trying to keep the people safe in Oblivion. Nathan arrives at the base of a giant tower. Now the only thing he needs to do is find a way inside. Edward isn't so sure he should go after Heather. Dulam didn't want to kill him. He mostly wanted to protect him, so he decides to go back and let them handle it alone. Dulam activates a transport device, which grabs Heather and immediately begins sending her to their capital. This is the fastest way there. Duncan is getting desperate because they still haven't figured out why the growth can't survive on Earth but thrives in Oblivion. Bridget thinks they have a better chance at finding out if they go in Oblivion. And wouldn't you know it, Edward and Matteo arrive just in time and offer to escort them. Dulam and Heather arrive at the capital and are greeted by Kuthal, but he demands an audience with the Great Kurag, their leader. Nathan finds the teleport device inside the building and needs to figure out how to activate it and send the city back, but he's not alone. Heather meets Kurag and says she knows about the growth and wants to work together to discover why it can't live on Earth, but he needs to call off the invasion. She wants to make their world livable again. He just needs to trust them. But what's stopping him from invading Earth and keeping both planets? Seems they are primitive and so easily conquered. But Heather says that Dulam told her their stories of their people, about the unification, their centuries of peace that were only broken as the growth consumed their resources. The Kuthal are not a warring people. They are better than this and she knows it. Nathan is about to start the device, but he gets attacked from behind by a guard. He easily wins the fight and the guard retreats, leaving him alone to start the device and send the city back. His plan works and the part of Los Angeles which was transported into Oblivion is brought back, and Marco is happy to see a clear blue sky once again. As soon as Kurag finds out about this, he thinks Heather was just stalling for time while their forces strike against them. He orders his guards to execute both of them at once. Heather claims they were just trying to defend themselves. Her intentions are honest, but they still haven't agreed to anything yet. She says that humans are not as inferior as he thinks, and it's better if they work together trying to create peace rather than fight. Before leaving, Nathan takes his sword and destroys the device, ensuring there's no way to activate it again. He then activates his belt and teleports back to Earth, where Marco and his team are still clearing the streets of monsters. The Gozan Legion is still under his command and he orders them to follow him, because there is still much to do. Edward takes his team into the other world and Duncan kind of missed hearing the Oblivion Song. They need to find a safe place to experiment, but they run into Gakal, Nathan's friend, and he offers to help them. Nathan takes his legion and heads towards Paris, where Maria and her team are having a hard time keeping the invasion at bay. Heather knows that they have a scientist named Gakal working to spread the growth. She wants to work together with him and speed things up, but Kurak needs to allow them free travel between the two worlds. Kurak says he will consider her offer, but he needs some time to process everything and asks his guards to take them. He then demands to see Lord Halak, who was disgraced 3 years ago after the humans escaped back to Earth. Apparently, Gakal has been secretly working for Kurak to end the growth, but he might be working with the humans on Earth against them now. He wants Halak to go to his lab and find out if it's true, and if it is, kill him. The battle in Paris is much tougher than the one in Los Angeles and the soldiers are pinned down, but reinforcements aren't coming anytime soon. Nathan manages to sneak inside the tower once again, but this time it's being guarded by hordes of Kuthal. Gakal takes the crew back to his lab, but Lord Halak arrives and they don't seem to be friendly. Things are looking bad all around and Marco is reporting back to headquarters that he's lost contact with Nathan over 4 minutes ago. That's because he's busy fighting the Kuthal who are defending the teleport machine inside the tower. He teleports into Oblivion and then back to Earth, arriving behind the machine and trying to destroy it, but one of the guards shoots him, which temporarily paralyzes him. Meanwhile, Gakal comes face to face with Halak and says he used to be the master of the Gozan Legion, which means he is deadlier than all of them and can easily take them out. He doesn't want to hurt them and instead asks Halak to work together and find a solution to stop the growth. He accepts, saying it's pointless to try and fight him, but the other Kuthal aren't as smart and attack him. His title is no joke, because the former master of the Gozan Legion deals with them in an instant, leaving only one alive who surrenders. Edward is impressed and says he barely even saw what he did there and they were all just dead. The crew goes inside the lab and begins working tirelessly on finding a way to stop the growth, but it's not easy. Halak thought it could be the carbon dioxide humans exhale that kills the growth, but it's not. It's the respiratory system itself. Apparently, when there are many humans in one spot, they scrub the air by breathing it, which in turn kills the growth around them. Edward takes them back to where his settlement used to be, and they find out that when they used to live there, the vegetation had stopped growing. But as soon as they left, it resumed its process and multiplied tenfold. Kurag wants Heather to tell him her planet's secrets so they can finish off the invasion sooner, but she refuses. He then brings out Nathan, who was taken prisoner, and vows to kill him if she refuses. Paris and Hong Kong have been completely invaded and the people have surrendered. They've lost the war. Kurag continues his threats and vows to kill them in front of each other if they don't tell him all of Earth's secrets. When out of nowhere, Halak and the other humans barge into the throne room. He says he has succeeded in finding a way to eradicate the growth entirely. They don't have to abandon their world and they don't have to conquer Earth. But the Kuthal have already invaded the major cities. They have fought hard and succeeded, and asking them to surrender now is insanity. Instead, Kurag asks his guards to kill every human in the throne room, but it won't be so easy. Instead of killing them, some of the guards turn on him and help them break free. Back on Earth, when Nathan was taken prisoner, he was rescued by his legion of Gozan warriors, and they disguised themselves to look like royal guards. Nonetheless, the great Kurag summons an even larger army of guards, and the gang is quickly outnumbered. They are overwhelmed and Halak thinks their tactics cannot succeed here, but Nathan has an idea. While everyone is busy fighting, he goes after the great Kurag and removes him from his throne, demanding he stop the attack. He then throws him on the ground, but the leader's body dies on the spot, and his body disintegrates. Apparently, when the growth overtook their planet, Kurag had led the evacuation, but many of their people died, and the Kuthal population dropped by half over the course of a decade. Those who survived broke into factions and a great war over resources erupted. Kurag is the one who united the factions, stopped the war, and devised a plan of attack against the growth. He was the only one who commanded respect, the only one whom the factions would allow to lead. But as he got older, the doctors went to great lengths to extend his life. But now that he's dead, the Kuthal have spread into multiple factions once again, and instead of invading Earth, they have turned on each other. The news spread so quickly that they turned on each other instantly, and they even took their cities back into oblivion, returning Paris and Hong Kong to their original places. The war had stopped and Nathan and his crew returned home, where everyone is celebrating a great victory, but Gakal doesn't understand how they can celebrate when his people are in oblivion suffering, fighting each other while the growth slowly eats them alive. He loses his temper and tries to kill Nathan by stabbing him in the heart, but Edward jumps in the way, trying to protect his little brother. When they were kids, the two brothers were very close and would spend a lot of time together. When their father died, their mother went into depression and she couldn't even take care of herself, let alone two growing boys. Instead of going to college, Edward stayed behind to help his mother and became like a father to his brother, teaching him how to shave and even drive. Eventually, their mother died as well, and Nathan was supposed to go to college, But they didn't have the money, so Edward took every job he could find and saved enough money to put his brother through college. Because of this, he neglected his personal life and got into a lot of trouble and debt. One night, he snuck into his brother's apartment and tried to steal his laptop, which broke Nathan. After that, Edward's life spiraled out of control as he got into more and more trouble, while Nathan had to bail him out constantly. Eventually, he refused to help him anymore, saying he can't be a part of this anymore. But now, Edward lays unconscious on the ground with a dagger in his chest. 5 years have passed, and things between the humans and the Kuthal have gotten a lot better. In order to stop the growth, they've built human colonies in Oblivion, because every time they breathe in the pollen from the plants, they purify the air, which stops it from spreading. Gakal has earned the respect of the vast majority of his people, and the infighting has stopped. General Harker says they discovered immense deposits of coal, lithium deposits the size of Texas, gold, silver, copper, and other resources they desperately need on Earth. He wants to start mining immediately and thinks the Kuthal owe them for trying to invade Earth. They've built a new Philadelphia city in Oblivion and it looks amazing. This new city looks just like a normal city on Earth, but enhanced with Kuthal technology and without the growth. Nathan talks to his brother and tells him what General Harker plans to do. They need to stop him and they have a plan. Back on Earth, they are planning on bringing new construction materials into Oblivion, but something happens and the teleport machine gets destroyed. Nathan visits Gakal, who already knew about his plan, and thanks him for saving this world once again. He is forever in his debt. Nathan apologizes for the way humans are. He wishes we were capable of more than just taking things. He's ashamed that his people forced him to take these actions. But Gakal reminds him that he also represents his kind and what they are capable of, just as much as those he opposes. The Kuthal are no better than humans. All sentient life is flawed, and it takes those like Nathan to guide us, help us focus on the right thing. His plan worked. All his tech has been destroyed, Earth is sealed off, and anyone trapped here either already loves it or will eventually come around. Nathan still has a teleport belt and goes back home to the memorial wall, but Director Ward finds him there. He wants to arrest him and says they still have the plans to build another teleport machine, but Nathan made sure to erase every trace of his designs, thanks to a little help from Heather, who has governmental clearance. He then teleports back to Oblivion, but he made sure to write his and Heather's names on the wall, because they're never coming back. He talks one final time with his brother, saying he feels ashamed that he abandoned him when he needed him the most. After everything he did for him growing up, there should have never been a time when he wasn't there for him. But Edward doesn't hold a grudge. Everything that happened led them here, to this world, to Lucy and his kid. He doesn't regret anything.